You can't do this. My voice was steady, but my hands weren't. They were shaking, had been shaking for 3 months, ever since Hurricane Deborah took my dock and left me with nothing but insurance money that didn't cover half of what I'd lost. Patricia Ashford stood on the other side of the chain-wrapped gate, with her arms folded, pearl earrings catching morning light like little declarations of wealth. Mr. Webb, this access road falls under Harbor Oaks jurisdiction. The gate is perfectly legal. Legal? I laughed, short and bitter. You chained off my property, my dock, my land that's been in my family since 1947. The road is county easement that runs across my property line to my dock. My voice rose despite every instinct telling me to stay calm. I spent 3 months rebuilding that dock, drove every piling myself, paid for every board with money I didn't have. And the day I finish, you chain it shut and demand $200 a month? Community standards require? Community standards? I stepped closer to the gate, close enough to see her expression tighten. Your community is 5 years old. My grandfather bought this land in 1947 when black men buying waterfront property in Charleston meant something, when it meant risk. My father expanded that dock, taught me to fish these waters. And now you, I pointed at her, hands still shaking. You think a clipboard and a HOA meeting give you the right to take it? Patricia's voice went cold. No one is taking anything. We're simply managing shared infrastructure. If you want to use facilities maintained by Harbor Oaks, you don't maintain anything. I was yelling now, didn't care who heard. That road was there before your houses, before your tennis courts, and your clubhouse, and your perfect little hedges. It's been there 70 years. Mr. Webb, if you don't lower your voice. Or what? You'll call the cops? Have me arrested for trying to reach my own dock? If necessary. Her face was stone. This is private community property. You're trespassing. I'm trespassing? The words came out like something breaking. Lady, you put a gate on my access road and you're telling me I'm trespassing? A Harbor Oaks security truck pulled up behind Patricia. Young guy in a uniform, hand on his radio. Patricia glanced back at him, then turned to me with a smile that made my blood go cold. Mr. Webb, I suggest you leave. Or we'll have you removed. I stood there, hands gripping the chain so hard my knuckles went white, looking at this woman who thought money gave her the right to decide who belonged and who didn't. Who thought 5 years of luxury development erased 70 years of my family's blood and sweat? This isn't over, I said quietly. No, Patricia agreed, voice sweet as poison. It's not. But, Mr. Webb? She leaned closer, just enough that the security guard couldn't hear. You're fighting people with resources you don't have. Lawyers, time, money. How long do you think you can afford to keep this up? As long as it takes. We'll see. She turned and walked back toward her Lexus, heels clicking on gravel like a countdown. I stood there alone, staring at the chain wrapped around my access, around my life, and felt something crack inside my chest. Not anger anymore. Something colder. Something that tasted like understanding. This wasn't going to be a fair fight, but I've spent 40 years working water that doesn't care about fair. Water that takes what it wants and gives nothing back except to those who respect it, who work it, who survive it. And if Patricia Ashford thought a chain and a threat would make me walk away from land my grandfather bled for, she was about to learn what 3 generations of Charleston fishermen already knew. You can't drown someone who's already learned to breathe underwater. That confrontation happened 3 days ago. 3 days of me driving past that gate every morning, staring at it like it might disappear if I looked hard enough. 3 days of my boat sitting at Booker's Dock 5 miles south while I burned gas and time I couldn't afford. 3 days of my son Tyler asking questions I didn't have answers to. Dad, can they really do this? Dad, what happens if we lose? Dad, are we going to be okay? I didn't know. Still don't. But I know how we got here. And if I'm going to fight this, if I'm going to win, I need to understand exactly when everything started falling apart. It started with the storm. Hurricane Deborah, September 2024, Category 3. The kind of storm that makes you question whether the house you're sheltering in will still have a roof when the wind stops screaming. I wrote it out at my sister's place inland. Listening to weather reports and trying not to imagine what 6 feet of storm surge would do to a 70-year-old dock built on posts, my grandfather sank with his own hands. When I got back, 2 days later, the answer was waiting. Complete destruction. Pilings snapped like toothpicks. Decking scattered across the marsh like driftwood. The cleaning station my father built in the 72nds gone completely. Just foundation posts sticking up through mud like broken bones. I stood there in the aftermath. Boots sinking into sand, still waterlogged from the surge, and felt something I hadn't felt since my father died. Genuine fear. Not of the storm, of what came after, because without a dock, I couldn't fish. Without fishing, I couldn't pay bills. And without income, everything my family had built for 3 generations would slip away, not because of weather, but because I couldn't afford to rebuild. Insurance covered some of it, maybe 40%. The rest? That came from savings I'd put aside for Tyler's last year at College of Charleston. Money meant for a new engine on the boat. Emergency fund I'd been building since my divorce 10 years ago. I spent it all, every dollar. 3 months of work, August through October. South Carolina heat that makes your shirt stick by 7 a.m., mosquitoes thick enough to choke on. Mud that fought every post I tried to drive. Like the marsh itself was asking, "You sure you want to do this again? You sure you can survive the next storm?" But I didn't have a choice. This wasn't just a dock. It was my grandfather's legacy, my father's pride. The only thing Tyler would inherit besides debt and stubborn determination. So I rebuilt. Tyler helped when he could between classes. 19 years old, marine biology major, hands soft compared to mine, but willing. We'd work dawn to dusk, him measuring elevations with surveying equipment borrowed from his professor, me swinging a post-hole digger until my shoulders screamed. Booker showed up most days. Old friend, Shrimper, 63, with hands like leather and a back that should have given out years ago. He'd bring coffee at sunrise and work until dark without asking for payment or thanks. Storm took my dock in '89, he said once, driving another post home. Community rebuilt it for me. This is just paying forward. The dock took shape slow. Not pretty, I'm a fisherman, not a marina carpenter, but solid, honest. Every plank I laid, I thought about my grandfather. About the risk he took buying waterfront property in 1947 when a black man owning anything valuable in Charleston meant painting a target on your back. He did it anyway, saved money from shrimping, paid cash, built the first dock himself, and when Hurricane Hazel took it in '54, he built it again. My father expanded it in the '70s, added the cleaning station, reinforced with reclaimed telephone poles. Taught me to read tides by watching cordgrass bend, to navigate fog by counting channel markers and listening for the bell buoy off Morris Island. When he died, massive stroke at 62, still had bait under his fingernails. I inherited the land, the boat, and the knowledge that this water doesn't care about your name or bank account, only whether you can survive it. For 30 years, the property sat quiet. Just me, my boat, occasional heron fishing the shallows at dawn. Then Harbor Oaks got built. 200 luxury homes on what used to be marsh and timber. Manicured lawns that don't belong in salt air. Pools, tennis courts, clubhouse with columns like it thinks it's a plantation. And an HOA that believed prosperity gave them dominion over everything within sight of their gates, including my dock. The trouble started small. A letter in my mailbox typed "official," condescending, informing me that waterfront aesthetics fell under Harbor Oaks' jurisdiction, that my commercial activity disrupted residential tranquility, that I needed to apply for a marina use permit to access my own dock. I laughed. Actually laughed. Threw the letter away. The second letter wasn't a request. Violation notice, $500 fine for unauthorized watercraft mooring. I called the number, got Patricia Ashford, HOA president, voice like she'd been raised on country club verandas and boarding school deportment. "Mr. Webb?" she said, pronouncing my name like something distasteful. "Harbor Oaks has strict standards. Your activities conflict with our community vision." "Ma'am," I kept my voice level. "My dock is on my property. Been there 70 years. Your community is 5 years old. Property values aren't my problem. I'm a commercial fisherman. I fish. That's what this dock is for." Silence. "Then, we'll be monitoring the situation closely." She hung up. I should have known then, should have recognized that tone, but I didn't. Not until after the hurricane. Not until I'd rebuilt everything and Patricia showed up at my finished dock with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Congratulations on the rebuild," she'd said, standing on land she didn't own, like she belonged there. "Must have been expensive." I managed. "I'm sure." She handed me a folder. "The board wanted me to deliver this personally. New regulations regarding commercial waterfront operations in proximity to residential developments." I opened the folder. Pages of bureaucratic language that boiled down to one thing. Harbor Oaks wanted jurisdiction over my dock access. "This doesn't apply to me," I said. "I'm not in Harbor Oaks. The access road crosses county easement that Harbor Oaks maintains." "Maintains?" I looked at the gravel road, rutted, potholed, untouched by HOA landscaping. "You don't do anything to this road." "We could, if Mr. Webb. Wouldn't it be easier to work together? Pay a small monthly fee, get access to better facilities." "I don't want your facilities. I want to use my own dock without asking permission." Her smile tightened. "Then we have a problem." That was 2 weeks before the gate went up. 2 weeks of me thinking maybe she'd drop it. Maybe the HOA would realize they didn't have legal standing. Maybe common sense would prevail. I was wrong. I came down to the dock 3 days ago, morning of what should have been my first fishing run after the rebuild, and saw the chain, heavy steel, wrapped through a gate that hadn't been there the night before. Padlocked, bolted to a post sunk in fresh concrete, sign hanging from the chain. Harbor Oaks Marina access. Authorized users only. Monthly fee, $200. That's when I called Patricia. That's when she showed up with her security guard and her cold smile and her threat about resources I didn't have. That's when I realized this wasn't about regulations or safety or community standards. This was about control. About people who believe money gives them the right to decide who belongs. Now I'm sitting in my kitchen at 2 a.m., can't sleep, surrounded by papers I barely understand, property deeds, survey maps, tax records, photos of my grandfather standing on the original dock in 1952, wearing overalls and holding a string of croaker-like trophies. Every document feels like evidence in a trial I don't know how to fight. My phone buzzes. Text from Tyler. "Can't sleep either. You okay?" I don't know how to answer that, so I just text back. "Working on it." 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Finally, "We're not losing this, Dad." I want to believe him. Want to believe that being right matters more than being rich. That 70 years of family history outweighs 5 years of development and HOA bylaws. But sitting here in the dark, looking at that chain wrapped around my access like a noose, I'm not sure belief is enough. The lawyer's office smelled like old books, and the kind of air conditioning that's been fighting Charleston humidity for decades and losing. Malcolm Cross was 50-something, black, with glasses that kept sliding down his nose and a handshake that tested whether you were serious. "Mr. Webb," he said, gesturing to a chair, "tell me about your chain." I laid it out. The timeline. Hurricane Deborah. 3 months rebuilding. The gate appearing overnight. Patricia's threat about resources. Malcolm took notes on a yellow legal pad, handwriting small and precise. When I finished, he leaned back. "Do you have the original property deed?" I slid the folder across his desk. Everything. Purchase documents from 1,947. Survey maps. Photos. Tax records, going back 70 years. He spent 10 minutes reading. When he looked up, His expression had changed sharper, like he'd found something. This is good. The deed clearly shows your property line extends to the marsh road. The access isn't a favor, it's your legal right. So we can beat them? Legally? Yes. He took off his glasses, cleaned them. Practically? Harbor Oaks has a law firm on retainer. They'll drag this out, file motions, demand discovery. Turn a simple property rights case into a multi-year battle designed to bankrupt you before trial. My stomach sank. How much? My retainer is $5,000. If it goes to trial, $30,000 to $50,000 minimum. I didn't have $50,000, barely had $5,000. There's another option, Malcolm said. Emergency injunction to remove the gate while the case proceeds. Faster, cheaper, establishes your right to access immediately. What's the catch? If we lose the injunction, it weakens our position for trial. And Patricia will fight. She's smart, knows how to work the system. You know her? His expression went neutral. I know her type. Old money protecting new property from people they think don't belong. The way he said it made me wonder if he'd fought this fight before. Lost, maybe. File the injunction, I said. You're sure? This is my land, my family's land. I'm not asking permission to use what's already mine. He nodded slowly. All right. I'll need documentation of every interaction with the HOA. Emails, letters, photos, recordings. I have them. Good. We'll file tomorrow. But Marcus? He leaned forward. This is going to get ugly. They'll dig into your past, try to paint you as a troublemaker, someone whose commercial activity threatens property values. Stay calm. Don't give them ammunition. I've spent 40 years working these waters, I said. Survived hurricanes, rough seas, market crashes. I can handle some lawyers. Malcolm smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Storms eventually end. Legal battles, sometimes they don't. The next 3 days were a blur of paperwork and phone calls and growing dread. Malcolm filed the injunction. Patricia hired a legal team from a Charleston firm that represented half the developers in the Low Country. Harbor Oaks residents started a Facebook group, concerned about commercial operations near schools. Never mind that the nearest school was 4 miles away. Never mind that I'd been fishing these waters since before most of them were born. Someone photoshopped my face onto a danger sign and circulated it at the clubhouse. Tyler found it online. Showed me on his phone, face tight with anger. They're trying to make you look dangerous. Let them. I said, though my hands were shaking again. We're fighting in court, not on Facebook. But it was hard. Every small attack felt like an insult. Like they were saying, you don't belong here, and we'll destroy your reputation to prove it. The injunction hearing was set for 2 weeks out. 2 weeks of me driving past that gate every morning, watching Harbor Oak security cameras track my truck like I was a criminal. 2 weeks of fishing from Booker's Dock, losing 3 hours a day to drive time, burning gas I couldn't afford, watching my savings evaporate while my own dock sat empty and useless. 2 weeks of Tyler asking questions I didn't have answers to. And 2 weeks of not sleeping, because every time I closed my eyes, I saw that chain. Heard Patricia's voice. You're fighting people with resources you don't have. She was right, and that terrified me more than any storm. The courthouse was smaller than I expected. Low brick building, palm trees out front, humidity so thick it felt like breathing through a wet towel. Malcolm met me on the steps. Ready? As I'll ever be. Remember, calm, factual, respectful. Don't react no matter what they say. We walked into a courtroom that felt more like a conference room. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, American flag in the corner. Patricia was already there with her lawyers, 2 men in expensive suits, briefcases that probably cost more than my boat's engine. They didn't look at me. The gallery had maybe 10 people. Tyler in the front row, Booker beside him, a few other fishermen I recognized, and surprisingly, 3 Harbor Oaks residents I didn't know. Older folks, uncomfortable in the hard seats. The bailiff called the room to order. Judge entered, black woman, maybe 60, reading glasses, expression giving away nothing. This is an emergency injunction hearing regarding property access, she said. Mr. Cross, you're representing the plaintiff? Malcolm stood. Yes, Your Honor. Proceed. For the next 20 minutes, Malcolm laid it out. The history, the maps, the timeline, the gate appearing overnight on public easement, the $200 fee for accessing private property. He presented it like evidence at a crime scene, methodical, unemotional, damning. Harbor Oaks' lawyer stood. Your Honor, my clients acted in good faith to manage shared infrastructure. The road requires maintenance. Shared infrastructure? Malcolm interrupted. The road provides access only to Mr. Webb's property. Harbor Oaks doesn't use it, maintain it, or have legal interest in it. Our community invested in improvements. Which improvements? Malcolm slid forward a document. County records show no permits filed for work on that road, no construction notices. The only improvement was the gate, installed without county approval. The judge looked at Harbor Oaks' lawyer. Counsel? We were operating under assumption that the easement transfer... What easement transfer? Malcolm said. There was no transfer. The county granted maintenance authority, not ownership, not the right to restrict access. The lawyer opened his mouth, closed it, shuffled papers. The judge leaned forward. Mr. Cross, do you have evidence your client's property rights are being violated? Malcolm presented the deed, the survey, photos of the gate. Your Honor, this is clear obstruction. Mr. Webb rebuilt his dock after Hurricane Deborah using his own money. He has every legal right to access it. Harbor Oaks has no standing to charge fees or restrict entry. But, Your Honor, Harbor Oaks' lawyer tried community safety. What safety issue? The judge asked. Commercial activity near residential areas. Mr. Webb's dock predates your client's development by 70 years, Malcolm said. He didn't move into their neighborhood, they moved next to him. Silence, the kind that means something shifted. The judge looked at me. Mr. Webb, stand please. I stood, hands steady for once, jaw tight. Tell me why this matters to you. Not about the law, about me. Your Honor, my grandfather bought that land in 1947, saved money from shrimping. Bought it because he wanted his children to have something permanent, something no one could take away. My voice was level, but I felt the weight of every word. My father expanded the dock in the 70 seconds, taught me to work these waters, taught me that if you make a living from the ocean, you respect it. You don't take more than you need. You don't pretend you own what belongs to everyone. I looked at Patricia. She was staring at the table. Hurricane Deborah destroyed that dock last September. Took 3 months to rebuild. Cost everything I'd saved for my son's college. Every board I put down, I thought about my grandfather, about my father, about keeping the promise they made that this land would stay in our family. I turned back to the judge. I'm not asking for anything I don't already own. I just want to reach my own property without paying people who have no right to charge me. The courtroom was silent. The judge wrote something, then looked at Patricia. Mrs. Ashford, does Harbor Oaks have documented safety concerns related to Mr. Webb's dock? Patricia stood slowly. Your Honor, we have residents who have expressed documented concerns, filed with the county, health department, Coast Guard, anyone with actual authority. No, Your Honor, but then this is about money, not safety. It's about community standards. It's about a 70-year-old property right being blocked by a 5-year-old development, the judge said. Her voice wasn't angry, just done. Mrs. Ashford, when you purchased property in Harbor Oaks, you knew or should have known there was an active commercial fisherman operating adjacent to your community. You don't get to move next to an airport and then complain about planes. She looked at both lawyers. I'm granting the injunction. The gate will be removed within 48 hours at Harbor Oaks' expense. Mr. Webb's access is restored immediately. Final property rights determination will be made at trial, but until then, no restrictions. The gavel came down. Sharp. Final. Malcolm exhaled. Tyler grabbed my shoulder. Booker nodded once, the kind of nod that says everything. Patricia walked out without looking at anyone. Outside, humidity hit like a wall, but I didn't care. Tyler was grinning. Malcolm shook my hand. "That was a good ruling," he said. "But Marcus, this isn't over. She'll appeal, find other ways to make your life difficult. Be ready." I will be. But standing there in the parking lot, watching Patricia drive away in her Lexus, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Like maybe the ground under my feet was solid again. Like maybe standing up to people who thought they could buy your silence actually mattered. The gate came down the next morning. County workers with bolt cutters. They didn't say much, just cut the chain, loaded the gate into their truck, drove away. Just like that, the road was open. I stood there for a long time looking at the empty space. The post was still there, concrete curing around its base, but the metal was gone. Tyler walked up beside me. "What are you thinking?" "That. I need to get back to work." We stood together watching the sun rise over the marsh, and for the first time since Hurricane Deborah, the future felt like something I could navigate. But Malcolm was right. It wasn't over. 2 days later, I came down to find a county environmental health inspector measuring my dock. "What's this about?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. Complaint filed. Possible violations of coastal development regulations. My dock was inspected after the rebuild. Passed everything. This is a follow-up. Someone reported unpermitted structures, potential environmental impact. I knew who someone was. The inspection took an hour. When he finished, he handed me a notice. "You're in violation of setback requirements." The dock extends 14 feet past allowable limits. It's been that length since the 72nds. Regulations changed in 2018. Anything rebuilt after must comply with current standards. So I have to tear down part of my dock or file for a variance. Takes 6 to 8 months. Until then, he hesitated. "You can't use it commercially." My hands went numb. "You're shutting down my business. I'm following procedure." After he left, I sat on the boat and did something I hadn't done since my father's funeral. I cried. Not dramatic, not loud, just tears running down my face while I stared at the dock I'd rebuilt, the land I'd inherited, the history I'd tried to preserve, wondering if Malcolm was right. If at some point, stubbornness became stupidity. Tyler found me there. Didn't say anything. Just climbed aboard and sat beside me. Finally, I said, "I don't know if I can keep doing this." "Then don't." I looked at him. "I'm serious," he said. "You've fought for months. Spent money you didn't have. Lost sleep, business, almost your mind. And they keep coming. Maybe it's time to walk away. Your grandfather is dead, Dad. He's not here watching you kill yourself trying to keep a promise to a ghost." The words hit hard, true and cruel. "What do you think I should do?" Tyler looked at the water. "Ask yourself, what are you fighting for? The land or the principle? What's the difference? The land is dirt and wood. The principle is believing you deserve to keep what's yours. One you can rebuild somewhere else. The other you carry wherever you go." That night I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed turning his words over. What was I fighting for? At 3 a.m. I made a decision. I called Malcolm. "Set up a meeting with Patricia. Marcus, I want to talk. Face to face. Just us." "That's not wise. I'm not negotiating. I just need to understand what she wants. Really wants." We met at a downtown coffee shop. Neutral. Public. Patricia arrived exactly on time. We ordered coffee. Sat at a corner table. "Why did you want to meet?" she asked. "I want to understand why you're doing this." I've explained. No. Not the HOA reasons. The real reason. Why does it matter so much that I can't fish from my own dock? She looked at me for a long moment. Something shifted. Less polished. More raw. "Do you have children, Mr. Webb?" "A son. I had a daughter." Had. Past tense. Emma. 16. Loved boats. Wanted to be a marine biologist. Her voice caught. 3 years ago, dock party. Someone had been drinking. Boat started. Emma was in the water. I didn't say anything. Just listened. She drowned. Propeller injuries. Could have been prevented if the dock had proper safety barriers, if the community had enforced basic standards. I'm sorry. I said. Meant it. After she died? I couldn't. I needed something to control, some way to make sense of chaos, so I became HOA president. Started enforcing every rule, every regulation, every standard, because if I could just make everything safe enough, perfect enough, it wouldn't bring her back, I said gently. No, she looked at her coffee, but it was something I could do. I'm not dangerous, Mrs. Ashford. I know, rationally. But seeing your dock every day, commercial traffic, no barriers, no oversight, it's like watching the accident happen again. We sat in silence. I understand grief, I said finally. My father died on the water, stroke while fishing, alone. By the time anyone found him, too late. I'm sorry. Water takes people, that's its nature, but it also gives life. Fed my family 3 generations, put my son through school. I can't stop fishing because your daughter drowned. That's not justice. That's just trying to control something that can't be controlled. Patricia's eyes were wet. I can't stop the lawsuit. The board won't let me. I'm not asking you to stop. I just wanted you to know. I'm not your enemy. I'm just a fisherman trying to keep his family's land. And if you force me off, nothing changes. Water is still dangerous. Tragedy still happens. You're just erasing someone else's history to feel like you have control. I stood. I hope you find peace, Mrs. Ashford. Really. But not at the cost of mine. I left her sitting there, coffee cold, tears on her face. The variance hearing came 6 weeks later. 6 weeks of fishing from Booker's dock. 6 weeks of losing money to drive time. 6 weeks of watching my own dock sit empty while I paid a lawyer. I couldn't afford to fight regulations that didn't exist when my father built the thing. 6 weeks of not sleeping. The hearing room was packed when I arrived. Tyler in the front row beside Booker, but that's not what made me stop in the doorway. Behind them, maybe 20 other fishermen. Guys I hadn't seen in years, old-timers who'd worked these waters since before I was born, younger captains running charter operations. All sitting there in work clothes that smelled like bait and diesel, hands folded, faces set, and on the other side of the aisle, about a dozen Harbor Oaks residents I didn't recognize. Not Patricia's crowd, older folks, uncomfortable in the hard seats. One woman caught my eye and nodded once solidarity from an unexpected place. The hearing officer was a county employee, gray-haired, bored expression. He read from a script without looking up. Mr. Webb, you're requesting a variance for a dock structure that exceeds current setback requirements by 14 feet. Malcolm stood. Not aggressive, just methodical. Your Honor, the structure in question was originally built in 1973 by Mr. Webb's father, James Webb, decades before the current setback regulations came into effect. It operated legally for 47 years. Hurricane Deborah, a federally declared disaster, destroyed this structure completely. Mr. Webb rebuilt it to its original specifications, using the same footprint, the same measurements, the same location that had been legally established for nearly half a century. He slid forward a stack of documents. These are inspection reports from the county's own building department, approving Mr. Webb's rebuild for structural integrity, environmental compliance, and safety standards. At no point did any county inspector inform him that the regulations had changed. At no point was he told his rebuild violated current setbacks. He acted in good faith, following official county approval. Now, months later, after he spent his life savings rebuilding after Harbor Oaks filed a complaint, the county is retroactively applying new standards to punish him for following their own guidance. The hearing officer looked annoyed. The regulations are clear. The regulations changed after the structure was originally built, Malcolm interrupted. You're punishing a property owner for rebuilding what a natural disaster destroyed, using plans your own inspectors approved. That's not regulation. That's selective enforcement triggered by a neighbor dispute. One of the Harbor Oaks residents stood up, the older woman who'd nodded at me. White hair, voice shaky but determined. Excuse me, but can I speak? The hearing officer looked irritated. Ma'am, this isn't a public comment period. I live in Harbor Oaks. I'm on the HOA board. She glanced back at the other residents who'd come with her. Or I was, until 2 days ago when I resigned. Because I'm tired of watching our HOA harass this man over property rights that are crystal clear. My husband and I bought our house 5 years ago because we liked being near the water. Real working waterfront, not some sanitized marina full of yachts owned by people who visit twice a year. Mr. Webb's dock was there when we moved in. It was there when Harbor Oaks was built. It was there for 70 years before any of us showed up. He has every moral and legal right to use it. Another Harbor Oaks resident stood. Older man, sun-weathered face. I'm a retired maritime lawyer. Moved to Charleston for the culture, not the HOAs. I've reviewed Mr. Webb's property documents. His deed is clear. His survey is accurate. His dock predates every regulation Harbor Oaks is trying to enforce. This hearing is a waste of taxpayer money and this man's time. Then Booker stood, slow, like his joints hurt, but solid. Your Honor, I've been fishing these waters for 53 years. I watched this city change from a working port to a tourist destination. Watched waterfront get bought up by developers who tear down fish houses and build condos. Watched families who'd been here for generations get priced out, pushed out, erased from a city their grandparents helped build. If you shut down Marcus Webb's dock on a technicality, you're telling every working person left in Charleston, your time is over, your history doesn't matter, make room for money. His voice got harder. But here's what you need to understand. Marcus isn't just fighting for himself. He's fighting for every fisherman, every oyster harvester, every boat captain who's watching this and thinking, if they can do it to him, they can do it to me. You approve this variance, you're saying working people still have a place in Charleston. You deny it, you're saying they don't. A younger fisherman stood. One I didn't know well ran a charter operation out of Shem Creek. I'm here because what happens to Marcus matters. If HOAs can weaponize regulations to force out commercial operations, none of us are safe. I've already had complaints filed against my dock. Anonymous complaints. Right after I refused to sell my property to a developer. This isn't about setbacks or environmental impact. It's about real estate values. About people who want to erase the working waterfront so their view isn't cluttered with actual boats that actually fish. Another stood. Then another. One by one, fishermen I'd worked with for decades stood up and spoke, not with rage, with clarity. With the understanding that this hearing wasn't about my dock, it was about whether working people still had the right to exist in a city being bought and sold like luxury real estate. The hearing officer was overwhelmed. His bored expression had shifted to something closer to recognition, like maybe he understood that what seemed like a simple variance request was actually about something bigger. He read through the file again, took off his glasses, rubbed his eyes like he was tired of being part of a system that did this to people. Mr. Webb, he said finally, looking at me for the first time, when you rebuilt your dock, were you informed by any county official that the setback regulations had changed? No, sir. And you rebuilt to the exact same specifications as the original structure? Yes, sir. Same pilings, same deck dimensions, same location. Only difference is the wood is newer. And your rebuild was inspected and approved by the county building department? Yes, sir. Passed every inspection. He nodded slowly, wrote something on his pad, then looked at the Harbor Oaks attorney who'd been sitting quietly in the corner. Counsel, does your client have any documented evidence of environmental damage caused by Mr. Webb's dock? Any water quality reports? Any wildlife impact studies? Any actual harm beyond aesthetic preference? The attorney shuffled papers. Your Honor, we have resident testimony about concerns, documented evidence, scientific data, regulatory violations filed with appropriate agencies. No, Your Honor. But community standards are not a legal basis for denying a variance when the structure predates the regulation and was rebuilt with county approval. He closed the file. I'm approving the variance. The structure existed legally for nearly 50 years. It was destroyed by a natural disaster. Mr. Webb rebuilt in good faith with official county approval. Retroactively applying new standards serves no public purpose except punishing someone for being here first. He looked at me. Mr. Webb, you can resume commercial use of your dock immediately. Relief flooded through me. Not joy too exhausted for that, just relief so intense it made my knees weak. Outside, Tyler grabbed me in a hug. Dad, we won. Second round, I managed. Still not the fight, but Booker pulled me aside. Marcus, this is bigger than you now. You just became the test case. Every working waterfront property owner in the Low Country is watching. You won today. That means they can too. I looked at the fishermen gathered in the parking lot, saw them talking to each other, exchanging numbers, making plans. Something had shifted. What started as my fight had become theirs. Malcolm approached, face serious, despite the win. Marcus, there's something you need to know. Patricia's been quiet during this hearing. Too quiet. What do you mean? I mean, she's smart. She knows the legal route isn't working. So she'll find another way. Like what? I don't know. But people like Patricia don't give up. They get creative. He was right. 2 weeks later, I found out how creative. I was loading gear onto my boat, first commercial run from my own dock in 3 months, when a survey crew arrived. 3 people with equipment, measuring stakes, cameras. What are you doing? The crew chief looked up from his transit. County survey. Boundary dispute filed. Someone's challenging your property line. My stomach dropped. What dispute? Claim that your dock extends into public trust waters. We're doing a comprehensive survey to verify. I have survey maps. Those are being challenged. This is a new survey to resolve the dispute. Who filed the challenge? He glanced at his clipboard. Harbor Oaks Homeowners Association. Of course. I called Malcolm immediately. He swore rare for him. It's another delaying tactic. Even if the new survey confirms your property line, the dispute process takes 4 to 6 months. And during that time, I can't use the dock commercially. I finished. Exactly. They lost in court, lost at the variance hearing, so now they're using procedural delays to accomplish what they can't do legally. Can they do that? Technically, yes. Anyone can file a boundary dispute. Whether it has merit doesn't matter. The process itself causes damage. I stood there, phone pressed to my ear, looking at my boat fueled up, gear loaded, ready to go, and felt something break inside. Malcolm, I can't keep doing this. I know. And that's what they're counting on. They have infinite resources and time. They can file complaints and challenges until you give up or go bankrupt. It's asymmetric warfare. After we hung up, I sat on the boat. Just sat there, staring at nothing, feeling the weight of it crushing down. Everything I'd fought for, the injunction, the variance, the months of legal battles meant nothing if they could just file a new challenge and freeze everything again. Tyler found me there an hour later. Didn't say anything at first, just climbed aboard and sat beside me in silence. Finally, he said, "Dad, you're not okay." "I'm fine." "You're not." "You haven't been fine since the gate went up. Maybe before that, maybe since the hurricane." I didn't answer. "You're not sleeping," he continued. "You're not eating. You're losing weight. Your hands shake all the time. And now you're sitting on your boat, staring at nothing, looking like," his voice cracked, "looking like you're drowning. I'm not drowning. I'm just tired. Then rest. Stop fighting. Walk away." "I can't." "Why not?" His voice rose. "Why can't you walk away? Because of Grandpa? Because of some promise you think you made to people who are dead? Dad, they're gone, and if you keep this up, you're gonna be too. Tyler, I'm serious. I'd rather have a father who's alive and gave up a dock than a father who's dead because he couldn't stop fighting." The words hit like a physical blow. I looked at him, 19 years old, eyes wet, voice shaking with fear. I'd been too deep in my own struggle to notice. "Is that what you think?" I asked quietly. "That I'd rather fight than be your father?" "I don't know what to think anymore. I watch you pour everything into this. Money, time, health, happiness, and for what? A doc? A principal? Dad, you've already proven you're right. You've won in court twice. You've shown them they can't push you around. Isn't that enough? I wanted to say yes, wanted to say I could walk away with my head high, having proven my point, but when I opened my mouth, what came out was, this isn't just about the doc. It's about whether people like us still have a place in a world being sold to the highest bidder. It's about whether your grandfather's risk means anything, whether your father's work matters, whether you inherit something real or just a story about how we used to own land before we got pushed out. Tyler was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "That's a lot of weight for one doc to carry." "I know. What if it can't carry it? What if you can't?" I didn't have an answer. That night, I had the first panic attack. Full-blown, can't breathe, heart racing, room-spinning panic attack that left me gasping on the bathroom floor at 2 a.m. while Tyler pounded on the door asking if I was okay. When I finally managed to unlock it, he found me sitting with my back against the tub, sweat-soaked, hands trembling so badly I couldn't hold my phone. "Dad, we're going to the ER." "No." I forced the word out through breaths that wouldn't slow down. Not ER, just panic attack. "How do you know?" "Because I've had them before. The admission cost me. After your mother left. After my father died. After I stopped. Breathed. After every time something felt too big to handle alone, Tyler sat down beside me on the cold bathroom tile. "You're not alone. I know. Then stop acting like you are." We sat there until the panic receded, until my heart rate slowed, until I could breathe without feeling like I was suffocating. "I'm calling your sister tomorrow," Tyler said, "and I'm making you an appointment with a therapist, and if you argue with me about either, I'm telling Booker you had a panic attack and letting him deal with you." Despite everything, I almost smiled. Booker would drag me to therapy himself. Exactly. The next morning, Tyler called my sister Janelle, told her everything. 2 hours later, she showed up at my door with groceries and the no-nonsense expression that had terrified me when we were kids. "You look like hell," she said, pushing past me into the kitchen. "Good morning to you too." "Don't." She started putting food away. Tyler told me what's happening. The doc, the HOA, the legal battles. "Marcus, why didn't you call me?" "Because you have your own problems, and you're my brother. Which means your problems are my problems." She turned to face me. "How bad is it really?" I sat at the kitchen table, too tired to lie. "I'm broke. I've spent everything fighting this. My savings, Tyler's college fund, money I didn't have. I'm 3 months behind on boat maintenance, 2 months behind on property taxes. And they just filed another challenge that'll freeze everything for 6 more months. Can you afford 6 more months? No. Then stop fighting. Janelle, I'm serious. You've proven your point. You stood up to them. Now it's time to be practical. Sell the land, pay off your debts, move on. I can't sell. It's Dad's land, Grandpa's land. I know. But Marcus, they're dead, and you're about to kill yourself trying to keep a promise to ghosts." She softened. "This land has been our family's for 70 years. That's extraordinary, but it's okay for it to end. It doesn't make you a failure. It feels like failure, only because you're measuring yourself against men who lived in a different time. Grandpa bought this land when it cost almost nothing. Dad kept it because property taxes were low and fishing was profitable, but the world changed. Charleston changed. Maybe it's okay to change too." I wanted to argue. Wanted to explain why giving up felt like betraying everything my family had built, but I was too tired. "I'll think about it," I said finally. "No, you'll actually consider it. Because Marcus, if you have another panic attack and Tyler's not there," she didn't finish. Didn't need to. Over the next week, I went through the motions, fished from Booker's dock, paid bills with money I didn't have, went to the therapist appointment Tyler had made. Dr. Morrison was younger than I expected. Black woman, maybe 40, with natural hair and an expression that suggested she'd heard every excuse people use to avoid dealing with trauma. Mr. Webb, Tyler says you've been having panic attacks. I had one panic attack. And you know you've had them before. After your divorce. After your father's death. That was years ago. Trauma doesn't expire. It just waits for the right trigger. She leaned forward. What do you think triggered this one? I thought about the gate. The chain. Patricia's smile. The endless legal battles. The crushing weight of trying to keep something that felt like it was slipping through my fingers no matter how hard I fought. Everything. I said finally. Everything triggered it. Tell me about your father. So I did. Told her about him teaching me to fish. About the pride in his face when he showed me the expanded dock. About finding him dead on the boat, alone, still had bait under his fingernails. He worked until the day he died, I said. Never complained. Never quit. Just worked. And you think that's what you're supposed to do too? Isn't it, Mr. Webb? Working hard is admirable. But working yourself to death, to keep a promise to someone who's gone, isn't admirable. It's trauma masquerading as duty. The words hit like cold water. Your father loved you, she continued, but he's not here to see what this fight is costing you. And if he were, what do you think he'd say? I thought about that, really thought about it. He'd tell me to stop being stubborn and use my brain. I admitted. He'd say land is just land. Family is what matters. So why aren't you listening to him? I didn't have an answer. That session didn't fix anything. Neither did the next one. But slowly, something started to shift. Not in the legal situation, that was still a mess, but in how I saw it. Maybe Tyler was right. Maybe I'd already won by refusing to back down. Maybe proving I couldn't be pushed around was victory enough. Maybe keeping the land wasn't as important as keeping myself whole. 2 weeks after the boundary survey started, I called Malcolm with a question I'd been avoiding. If I wanted to sell, what would happen? Long silence. You're serious? I'm exploring options. What happens to the legal battles if I sell? Depends on the buyer. If someone buys knowing there's a dispute, they inherit the fight. If Harbor Oaks buys, he stopped. Marcus, are you considering selling to Harbor Oaks? I'm considering not going bankrupt fighting them. I understand, but there's something you should know. If you sell now, while there's an active dispute, the price will be severely depressed. They'll lowball you because they know you're desperate. How much are we talking? Maybe 40% of actual value. They'll frame it as generous, given the complications, but it's predatory. I did the math in my head. 40% of what the land was worth still wouldn't cover my legal bills and debts. So I'm trapped, I said. Can't afford to keep fighting. Can't afford to sell. That's their strategy. Bleed you until you're desperate enough to accept whatever they offer. After we hung up, I sat in my truck outside the therapist's office and stared at the harbor. Boats moving in and out, working boats, tourist boats, yachts worth more than my entire property, and I realized something. I was tired of being angry, tired of fighting, tired of letting this consume every moment of every day. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to Patricia's number. Before I could talk myself out of it, I called. She answered on the third ring. Mr. Webb, I want to meet, face to face. Just us. No lawyers, no board, no audience. I don't think that's wise, Mrs. Ashford. I'm not trying to negotiate. I just want to understand something. One conversation. That's all I'm asking. Long pause. Coffee shop downtown. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. I'll be alone. So will I. We met at a neutral location tourist area. Public. Safe. Patricia arrived exactly on time, dressed like she was attending a business meeting. Expensive, but understated. We ordered coffee, sat at a corner table. Neither of us spoke for a moment. Finally, she said, Why did you want to meet? I want to understand why you're doing this. I've explained. No, not the HOA reasons. The real reason. Why does it matter so much to you that I can't fish for my own dock? She looked at me for a long moment. Something in her expression shifted, less polished, more raw. Do you have children, Mr. Webb? A son. Tyler. He's 19. I had a daughter. Had. Past tense. Emma. She was 16. Beautiful girl. Loved boats. Wanted to be a marine biologist. Was applying to College of Charleston. Her voice caught. 3 years ago, she was at a friend's dock party. Someone had been drinking. Someone started a boat. Emma was in the water. I didn't say anything. Just listened. Propeller injuries, Patricia continued, voice barely above whisper. She died before the ambulance arrived. Could have been prevented if the dock had proper safety barriers, if there had been regulations enforced, if someone had been paying attention to what was happening. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. After she died, I couldn't. She stopped, breathed. I couldn't function, couldn't sleep, couldn't exist in a world where my daughter was gone because someone was careless. So I threw myself into the HOA, became president, started enforcing every rule, every regulation, every safety standard I could find. Because if I could just make everything safe enough, controlled enough, perfect enough, it wouldn't bring her back, I said gently. No. Tears on her face now, not bothering to hide them, but it was something I could do, some way to make sense of the senselessness. Every rule I enforced, every violation I cited, every safety concern I addressed, it felt like I was protecting someone else's daughter. Like maybe Emma's death could mean something if it prevented another tragedy. We sat in silence. The coffee shop buzzed around us, tourists laughing, cups clinking, life continuing like it does. I'm not dangerous, Mrs. Ashford, I said finally. I know that. Rationally, I know that. But seeing your dock every day, commercial traffic, no barriers, boats coming and going, it's like watching the accident happen again and again. Every boat that starts, every person in the water, I see Emma, and I can't. She stopped, composed herself. I can't turn it off. I understand grief, I said quietly. My father died on the water. Massive stroke while he was fishing alone. By the time someone found him, it was too late. I found him, actually. Still had bait under his fingernails, still had his fishing hat on. Just gone. I'm sorry. Water takes people. That's its nature. But it also gives life. It fed my family for 3 generations. It's how I put Tyler through school. It's who I am. I leaned forward. Mrs. Ashford, I can't stop fishing because your daughter drowned. That's not justice. That's not even revenge. That's just trying to control something that fundamentally can't be controlled. Patricia's eyes were wet. She blinked, trying to compose herself. I can't stop the lawsuit. The board won't let me. They've invested too much money. Time, political capital. They want to win now just to prove they can. I'm not asking you to stop the lawsuit. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know, I'm not your enemy. I'm not the person who killed your daughter. I'm just a fisherman trying to keep his family's land. And if you force me off it, nothing changes. The water is still dangerous. Tragedies still happen. You're just erasing someone else's history to feel like you have control over something that's already gone. I stood up. I hope you find peace, Mrs. Ashford. I really do. But not at the cost of mine. I left her sitting there, coffee going cold, tears running down her face. When I told Tyler about it that night, he asked, "Do you think it helped?" I don't know, but I needed to see her as a person, not just the HOA president, a mother who lost her daughter and is trying to make sense of senseless tragedy. Does it change the fight? No, but it changes how I feel about winning. The final survey results came back 3 weeks later, exactly as we'd expected. My dock was entirely on my property. Harbor Oaks' boundary challenge was baseless. Malcolm filed for dismissal with prejudice, meaning they couldn't file the same challenge again. The judge granted it. Ordered Harbor Oaks to pay my legal fees for the survey. $8,400. It was a victory. But it felt hollow because the larger fight continued. Harbor Oaks filed an appeal of the variance decision. Then a new complaint about noise ordinances claiming my boat motor at 4 a.m. violated community peace. Each challenge took months to resolve. Each one cost money I didn't have. Each one wore me down a little more. "This could go on for years," Malcolm said during one of our calls. "They have the resources. They'll keep filing until you give up or go bankrupt. So what do I do? You decide what winning looks like. Because Marcus, you've already proven your point. Legally, morally, you're right. The dock is yours. But if you want peace, if you want to actually fish, instead of spending your life in court, I have to let them win. You have to decide what's worth fighting for, and what's worth walking away from." That night, I sat on my boat at my dock, legally mine, barely usable because I was spending all my time responding to legal challenges instead of fishing. And I realized something. I'd already won. Not in court, not in some final ruling, but in the fight itself, by refusing to back down, by standing up to people who thought money could erase history, by showing Tyler that some things are worth fighting for even when fighting costs everything. That was victory enough. The next morning, I called Malcolm. "I'm done fighting." "You're withdrawing the case?" "No. I'm keeping the land. I'm keeping the dock. But I'm done spending my life in court. Let them file their appeals. I'll respond when legally required with minimum effort. But I'm not going to let this fight be the only thing in my life anymore. Marcus, I've got fishing to do, a son to watch, graduate, a life to live." Patricia Ashford can spend the rest of hers trying to control the uncontrollable. I'm choosing something else. I hung up and went fishing. The lawsuits continued. Harbor Oaks filed complaints. Malcolm responded with minimal effort. The legal machinery ground on, slow and expensive and ultimately pointless. But I stopped letting it control me. I fished, rebuilt my savings slowly. Watched Tyler graduate magna cum laude with a degree in marine biology. Started teaching him the waters the way my father taught me, not just the navigation and the technique, but the philosophy. "Water doesn't forgive mistakes," I told him one morning as we checked crab pots in Bull's Bay, "but it also doesn't hold grudges. You respect it, work with it instead of against it, and it'll sustain you. Try to control it, and it'll destroy you." "Is that about fishing or about Patricia?" he asked. "Both. And every morning, I left from my dock, the one my grandfather built in 1947, my father expanded in the 70 seconds, I rebuilt after Hurricane Deborah, the one no amount of legal harassment could take away because it was mine, not just because a deed said so, but because 3 generations of my family earned it with blood and sweat and stubborn determination." Patricia eventually retired as HOA president. Health reasons, the official statement said. But Janelle heard through the Charleston Gossip Network that she'd had a breakdown at a board meeting. Started crying while discussing a violation notice about someone's fence height. Couldn't stop. Resigned the next day. New board members came in. Some more reasonable, some less. The fights continued in smaller, quieter ways, but they never put the gate back. Years later, Tyler was 25 by then. Working for NOAA as a marine biologist, we were sitting on the dock at sunset. He'd brought his girlfriend Claire to meet me. She was smart, funny, studying environmental law at University of South Carolina. "So, this is the famous dock," she said, looking around. "The one Tyler told me about. The one you fought the HOA over." "This is it," I said. "Was it worth it? The fight?" I thought about that question. Really thought about it. "I don't know about worth it," I said finally. "But I'm still here. Still fishing. Still teaching Tyler what my father taught me. That's enough." Tyler looked at me. "Grandpa would be proud. Grandpa would be pissed it came to this," I said. "But yeah, maybe." We sat as the sun set over the marsh, turning everything gold and peaceful. In the distance, a mullet jumped. A heron called. Life continuing the way it had for thousands of years before Harbor Oaks existed and would continue for thousands after. "You know what my father used to say?" I told Claire. He said, "Water doesn't forget. It remembers who respects it, who works it, who belongs. And you belong, she said. Not a question. Yeah, and no HOA, no lawsuit, no amount of money or lawyers can change what the water knows is true. Tyler smiled. Put his arm around Claire. Dad's getting philosophical in his old age. I'm 47. That's not old. It's distinguished, Claire offered. We laughed. The kind of easy laugh that comes when the fighting is over and all that's left is living. Later, after Tyler and Claire had gone inside, I sat alone on the dock, my dock, watching stars come out one by one in a sky that didn't care about property lines or HOA regulations or any of the human concerns that seemed so important in daylight. And I thought about Patricia. Wondered if she'd found peace. Hoped she had. Because in the end, we'd both been fighting the same thing. Loss. She'd lost her daughter. I'd almost lost my family's legacy. We'd both been trying to control the uncontrollable, to make sense of senselessness, to hold on to something that was already slipping away. The difference was, I'd learned to let go, not of the land that was still mine, but of the need to fight about it, the need to prove something, the need to win. Because here's what I'd figured out. In all those sleepless nights and panic attacks and conversations with therapists and lawyers and my son, winning isn't about the verdict. It's about still being here when the fight is over. Still breathing, still fishing, still teaching the next generation what matters. This is my land, my dock, my history. And I'm not leaving, but I'm also not drowning anymore. And that right there is victory enough